Good evening, Stevens Point, and welcome back to the Sports Hub. I'm your host, Will Haroldson, and alongside me, as always, are my partners in crime, Ashton Parker and Brody Kupsky. We had some exciting things happen this weekend, like the UWSP men's hockey team's preseason exhibition game, the Pointers volleyball's successful weekend, and the Wisconsin football's 16th straight win over Purdue. All of this and more when we return. Now for your UWSP athletics updates. The UWSP football team headed into their matchup against the 9th-ranked UW-LACROSSE Eagles reeling a bit. After 3 solid offensive performances to start the season, the wheels fell off the wagon as the Pointers entered WIAC conference play. And despite losing their 4th straight game, the UWSP offense showed significant improvements from the past several weeks. The run game worked well for the Pointers, opening holes for Bryson Cashin and Seth Forbes to score. So guys, I know Stevens Point lost 55-13, but it was a better performance overall. Getting into the end zone twice. What were your guys' perceptions of this game?
You know, I 100% agree that is an improvement from the last few weeks, as they did find the end zone twice, which is freaking amazing, man. So proud of them for that. Obviously, it's not a great score, but going against a tough opponent like LACROSSE and scoring twice after not really scoring the last few weeks is, I'd say it's a pretty good feeling for them.
Yeah, and I'm just happy for them, really. We've been talking and kind of trashing them a lot recently because of just their poor performance compared to the rest of the WIAC teams. But the fact that they were not able to only get into the end zone once but twice against the 9th ranked in the nation LACROSSE Eagles, who's now ranked 8th in the nation after the recent rankings. I think that helps a lot with confidence. I think that can really jolt a team and an offense when you can finally push through that barrier. And I think this was one of the biggest barriers that they had, and they finally broke through it.
Yeah, and obviously next barrier is going to be getting that all-elusive conference win. But you and I were talking before the show today. There are actually 5 WIAC teams ranked in the top 25 this weekend, but it was a chaotic weekend as number 3 Whitewater went into Platteville and lost to the Pioneers. I was at the game. It was just a tremendous defensive performance by Platteville, and they won the game. They're ranked number 22, I believe. Yep. And it's crazy. The top of the WIAC is LACROSSE, River Falls, Whitewater, and Platteville. If Platteville wins out, they win the WIAC. It was just a crazy weekend. But yeah, to your point, credit the Pointers offense. Yeah, it wasn't a great game. They still lost 55-13, but they got in the end zone twice, and that's got to do wonders for their confidence. But they got a matchup this week against Eau Claire, and that's going to be a little bit of a shaky game. Both teams not doing the greatest in the world, but other chances to improve. And actually, I think I'm wrong on. But either way, whoever they play regardless, this will be a chance for Stevens Point to really continue that offensive momentum.
Yeah, definitely, without question. They do play Eau Claire in Eau Claire this weekend, 1 p.m. game time.
I was wrong. I knew it.
So it should be a game that they could win. Eau Claire's not a terribly tough opponent, but they're both teams are trying to find their footing, just trying to get through the rest of the season. Hopefully, make some improvements. Obviously, with the last few games, you're going to try to make some improvements to see what might work next year, might not. But it's definitely a game that Point could win. Not saying they're going to, but if they get this first win here, it's going to really build their confidence.
Right, and if my memory serves me correct, they go Eau Claire, Oshkosh at home for senior day, and then they head over to Whitewater to finish the season. So
that is correct.
A pretty tough stretch for Pointers football.
It's tough, and again, it's just looking at the schedule as a whole. They've had a deceptively really hard schedule because you had to take on River Falls away, you had to take on Whitewater away, or you're going to have to take Whitewater away. And I think they played LACROSSE away too. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they just did. I forgot if it was home. But it's really hard, and I think so. We talk about breaking through barriers, and I think the next one, this is probably the best opportunity they have, would be to just try and make it close, try and keep it within one score. If you do win, absolutely fantastic. You break through multiple barriers at once to kill two birds with one stone. But I think the next thing that they have to do is just try and keep things competitive, because that will show significant improvements, and that is something they desperately need.
Right, and this team has always been just a few plays away of different outcomes. Like, I know they lost 55-0 against Stout, but if a couple of plays go their way where they catch the football, they score a couple times, it's maybe a different outcome. I don't know if they win, it's a different outcome. We're going to stick with Stevens Point-related athletics, but the UWSP volleyball team finished off their remaining home games of the regular season very strong, defeating Illinois Wesleyan 3-1 and Wheaton College 3-0. The Pointers now hit the road to close off the regular season starting Friday as they head over to LACROSSE to take on the UW LACROSSE Eagles on Friday and then take on the Wartburg Knights on Saturday. With only one WIAC game remaining, at the best, the Pointers can finish third overall in the WIAC standings, which would be beneficial for the WIAC Conference Tournament standings. So guys, it's almost time for the Division III Volleyball NCAA Championship Tournament. What are you guys looking forward to during this end stretch of the regular season in the conference tournament?
I guess just win the last few games and kind of set yourselves up for success in the WIAC tournament. Obviously, you got a lot of good teams in there. Trying to gun for a spot and hopefully win. Obviously, Point's trying to do that, and I would say they have a pretty good shot at winning.
They've got a decent shot at winning because they've shown that they can really compete and beat the top teams in the WIAC. They beat Eau Claire at home. Eau Claire is actually 4-2 in conference, so if Eau Claire drops their final WIAC game and Stevens Point wins, they have that tiebreaker over them. However, Stevens Point is currently tied with other teams in the WIAC that they have losing records against. But Ashton, to the point of you get to play these tournament-type games are really beneficial for yourself because right now I would say Point's probably going to go to the NCAA tournament at 21-6. They got some good wins in the year. How beneficial is this conference tournament to them?
I think it just sets them up for success as you prepare to fight against these really good teams, obviously. You'll get through the lesser opponents, but still really good opponents first. And then, once you hit those semifinals, that's when things really start to ramp up. And especially in the WIAC, where it's probably going to have multiple teams make the NCAA tournament. Off the top of my head, Eau Claire's probably going to make it. Whitewater is definitely going to make it. Obviously, Point. I feel like there's a couple more off the top of my head. Oshkosh, yes. I was forgetting Oshkosh. They will probably make it as well. It all depends, but I think it really builds up a resume for it. You want to fight for a higher seed, and I think these last few games are important for just setting up that notion of we aren't going to quit, and we are fighting for that top seed.
There's always that question of conference tournaments, no matter what sports you're playing. Like, do you 100% shoot all you have for conference tournament and risk winning it all and risk shooting all you had for your conference tournament in the NCAA tournament? Is that a legitimate thing that, as a coach, you would worry about?
I mean, I don't know if I'd worry about it too much. Obviously, you want to try to win your tournament, but, say you do shoot too much and you get a couple of your players are out maybe for injury or whatever, it doesn't help if you want to have a good shot at winning the big dance. So if you hurt your players, or not saying you're going to hurt your players, but if they're just tired out and they're not mentally or physically ready for a big dance like the NCAA tournament for volleyball, it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, but I think the point stands of still trying your best in these conference tournaments, because you really want to make sure the players are ready. And there's always that what if of, what if someone does get hurt? That always is just the case with any game, be it regular season or WIAC postseason. So you can't really be cautious about that. Now, you've already played like a couple dozen games beforehand. You just got to keep going at this point. And if something happens, something happens. That's just kind of a, things happen moment right there. So I think probably to not fully don't put everything you have, because I think with how the Pointers' resume with the wins they have, because they have, like you said, some very solid wins, I think it's still important to try and win the tournament, at least try and get to the finals, try to get top 2 to really show that you can still hang with the best. But if you don't win, then you don't really have to worry as much, because you already have that very impressive resume, and you still have that confidence from those wins to really say that I can go there and I can beat these teams.
Yeah, conference tournaments are always confusing to me, because there's always those teams that know they're in the NCAA tournament, but there's also those teams that are fighting for a spot to try to get into the NCAA tournament. So it'll be a really fun, entertaining time, I think. The beginning of it will start at the WIAC tournament will start at the beginning of November, so it's going to be a fun time. On Saturday, October 22nd, the UWSP men's hockey team had their first and only exhibition against Lawrence University, while the Pointers did not disappoint, winning 7-2 and scoring in all different kinds of ways. Now the Pointers prepare for a monster series to start the season, as they will play a home and away series against the number 6 ranked St. Norbert Green Knights. SPTV's one and only Ashton Parker was back home on Saturday and was able to catch the game in Lawrence. So, Ashton, I'll just give it to you a little bit. Want to give us a little bit of a rundown of what you saw on Saturday?
Sure can. So yeah, I was back in Appleton, where Lawrence University is, for the weekend, and I initially didn't know that they were playing an exhibition game in Appleton. I guess Lawrence scheduled a couple WIAC teams to play them for exhibition games. I think they played Eau Claire earlier, but I went down there with my dad, and what we saw in the first period was I felt like I gained the perspective of they were trying to feel things out. Obviously, it's the first sort of official game that they've played, and the only exhibition, as you said. But they were really feeling things out, and while they were able to score twice, once in power play to start off the game, they did let up 2 goals from a surprisingly really aggressive team from Lawrence. Lawrence wasn't bad by any means last year, but they were near the middle of the division, so they weren't really in I forget what conference they're in, but they weren't near the top of that. But they came out aggressive. They came out showing that to these the 10th ranked team in the nation that they were going to not let up, even though it's an exhibition game. But as soon as they went to the second period, everything changed. It felt like they figured it out, and they were, as soon as they went on a 5-0 run to end the game, and as you said, the score ended 7-2. I just saw a lot of confidence. And rightly so, like I said, they're the 10th ranked team in the nation. They should have a lot of confidence for a good reason. They're super good. And I think it's really good to have that confidence, have that swagger going into the season. And that's something really important to have, because they're playing against St. Norbert. And that's going to be very challenging. But they can do it, obviously, because Pointers hockey is amazing.
Right, they start off, like I said, that home and away series. It's a little unusual. You play at St. Norbert on Friday night, and then you take the bus ride back home for Point. You take them on in KV Willett Arena on Saturday. Obviously, we're going to have the game. We're going to cover it. It's going to be a good old time. But Stevens Point comes into the season, according to WIAC Media, projected to finish first place. And based on that performance that you saw, would you say that's a justified first place vote?
Yeah, I think so. If they're able to handily, beat these bit more middling teams, as dominant as they were, I think they have a very solid case of being first in the WIAC.
But Brody, yeah, there's always this preconceived notion at the beginning of the year that there's always these teams that are always going to finish in the top. Does that hurt you in the long run? Because you go into games thinking, oh, well, we're going to win. We're just better than them all the time. We're just going to go into this and win.
I guess definitely with that, you just can't be too overconfident. Obviously, if you know you're a good team, you're a good team. But try not showing it too much, and you'll have a better shot at winning. Obviously, Pointers hockey is probably the best team here right now. Granted, volleyball's looking really good, but Pointers hockey is kind of like our time of the year to be relieved that, hey, we have a good sport now.
Right.
But after last year's performance, they have a pretty good shot at winning the WIAC and probably, I mean, hopefully sweeping the tournament, but obviously they had troubles last year with that a little bit.
But what a monster series to start the season. You take on the number 6 team in the country, and what that could do for yourself in the long run. If you're able to knock off the number 6 team in the country in 2 straight games, man, that would go a long way.
I'm even going to say right now, even if you split the series 1-1, I think that does a lot because it really shows that you can hang with the best of them. You know, they're able to, yeah, you lost a game, but St. Norbert is ranked higher. You know, I personally, I didn't watch St. Norbert last year. I think obviously they were super good because, you know, for obvious reasons they're ranked 6. But I think if you're able to even split the series, you know, you get a W against the 6th ranked team. I think that shows it can be a lot. And I think it shows your opponents a lot too about just trying to say that, these preseason rankings, they're legit. We're supposed to be up there because we can hang with the best of them.
Yeah, without question. But it's, like I said, big time opportunity. If you're able to take both those games, man, that'd be huge.
It really goes a long way. With that, I know St. Norbert's not too far from my home, so I would love to go back and watch St. Norbert play. You know, the boys up at the pier, they're pretty good, but you know, you do win those games if your point, it really goes a long way in saying, hey, we might be the best in the nation, really, but obviously we won't go that far yet. So
let's pump the brakes a little.
Yeah, with pointers here, they just gotta maybe win at least one. If you get swept, you know, not too big of a deal, but obviously try to win one.
Right. You don't want to lose both the games to start the season, but if you happen to do, all is not lost. But there'll be definitely will be plenty of more chances. Well, that's going to do it for your UWSP athletic updates. We're going to take a quick break and come back with some regional sports action. So don't go away because we'll be right back.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that. And it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back to the Sports Hub. Let's get into some regional sports action. For maybe the first time in 3 weeks, Wisconsin Badgers football fans have something to be proud of. After coming off of a double overtime loss to Michigan State, many, including myself, thought Purdue was going to march into Camp Randall and thump the Badgers. Well, the opposite happened, as the Badgers exploded for 35 points. Quarterback Graham Mertz looked impressive, going 13 for 21 for 203 yards and tossing 2 touchdowns. Braylon Allen did what BA does. He ran over the Boilermakers for 113 yards and a touchdown on 16 carries. Saturday's win extends the Badgers' win streak over the Boilermakers to 16 straight games. So, fellas, what did you make against Saturday's win versus Purdue?
You know, it's a huge win to kind of come back and say, hey, we still have a shot to, you know, make a decent bowl game. But with the Badgers here, I mean, looking at some stats, you said Mertz went 13-21, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Braylon Allen, 16 carries, 113 yards and a touchdown. But Isaac Arendo, 7 carries, 72 yards and a TD, averaging 10.3 yards a carry, which is huge. Skylar Bell, still, you know, kind of underrated receiver, really. 4 receptions for 87 yards and a TD. Jameer DK with 3 receptions, 36 yards and a touchdown. So, you know, the Badgers offense is looking pretty good. The defense is holding opponents really well. I mean, obviously 24 points is still a lot to give up, but a lot of that was in the second half. In the fourth quarter, really, Purdue outscored Wisconsin in the fourth quarter 14-0. But Wisconsin's looking pretty good for now. Obviously, you know, it's going to be hard to make the Big Ten championship at this rate, but
crazy things can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the same boat right now. They're probably not going to make it. Illinois looks really good, but it's a nice step forward to see Jim Leonard get his first win at home as the interim head coach. I think he's taking steps towards getting that official head coach title. This win definitely helps because, Purdue came in to this game looking pretty, not terrible, but not good in their previous outings. But they went into Minneapolis and thumped Minnesota. And, Minnesota is not the greatest team in the world, but they're good. They got a solid offense with Mohamed Ibrahim. But Ashton, to the point of Wisconsin plays 4 games the rest of the year. 4 of the games that if they play like they did against Purdue, they could win. And that would do wonders for Jim Leonard and for this team because, man, they started out bad. Probably the most inconsistent team in the Big Ten.
Oh, 100%.
And if they're able to salvage this season and finish 8-4 and go to a decent bowl game, man, that would do wonders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially after the head coach change, of course, swapping Paul Chryst for Jim Leonard, I think that would do a lot for, not only, Leonard, but the entire organization as a whole, because a lot of people thought that Wisconsin was just going to go down the road in Nebraska. Ever since they fired the head coach, it's going to go and just be a middling franchise or a middling college, just having mediocre seasons for a while. But I think especially with the rest of the schedule that they have, because they play Maryland, who they are perfect against, but Maryland is looking pretty good. 6-2, yep. Iowa, Iowa is not very good this year. Their offense is somehow more inconsistent, worse than the Badgers, in my opinion. I think they play then Nebraska, who is also not good. They also had a head coach change again this year. And then you have Minnesota, which, like you said earlier, hasn't been the best. So I think if you can win, even win like 3 of 4, because Maryland, I think, is a coin flip as to who wins. But I think you can finish out the season with 3 straight wins, make a solid bowl game. I think that will do a lot for Jim Leonard as a whole. I think he will get that head coaching job. For maybe give him like one more full year, see how he does, then decide on where you're gonna go from there. And these are gonna be really pivotal 4 games because these 4 games are going to determine what the Badgers' future is gonna look like in terms of head coaching.
Yeah, I think I'll even go as this far. I think if Jim Leonard is able to finish the season off with 4 straight wins, or it would be 5 if they're able to win out. I'd say they'd hand him the job before he even gets to the bowl game.
Oh, definitely, without question. He looks pretty solid right now. Obviously, the loss against Michigan State's not looking good, and you play Northwestern, Purdue, but you win these last 4 games. Obviously, we talked about Maryland. Could be a toss-up. Either team could win. Obviously, we would love to see Badgers win, but Iowa. I mean, if Badgers lose to Iowa. I don't know if it's looking that great. I mean, have you seen Iowa? Oh, man. Nebraska's kind of the same boat. It sucks for them because they have had a long history of having great teams, but last how many years now it's been.
Yeah, it's been a struggle.
It's
been a struggle.
But I believe if they win against Minnesota, that's the big game. Winning the Axe would be a huge game for Jim Leonard to for the Badgers to really see Jim Leonard as a great coach if he ends up winning the game.
If they can get the Axe back. If you remember, they were really on an inside track of getting to the Big Ten championship game last year and then laid an egg against Minnesota in Minneapolis, and it kept them out. They went to the Las Vegas Bowl. They won that game, so they finished the season off decent, but could have done better. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever. But it's in the past, and there's opportunities in front of the Badgers, that's for sure. Well, the Packers continue to disappoint after such a strong start to the season. After starting 3-1, the Packers have now lost 3 straight games, looking progressively worse in each of their outings. Now they get the tough task of taking on the NFL's best team in the Buffalo Bills, which may be their only opportunity to turn the season around. So guys, if they're able to get this upset, that would go a long way. But what has happened to this team for them to fall apart the way they have?
I'm telling you right now, I said this last week, and I've said this multiple times. If they lost to Washington, we hit the panic button, and they lost to Washington. Currently, red lights are blaring, and things are not going well. Something needs to happen. I don't know what needs to happen, but something does. And honestly, I'm thinking right now, I don't know if I want them to beat Buffalo, because this is kind of a sucks if you do, sucks if you don't situation. But if you beat Buffalo in Buffalo, that just shows that nothing is wrong, and they're just going to keep doing the way they are, and they're going to be incredibly inconsistent, and everything's going to suck. But if you lose to Buffalo and you keep losing, maybe that tells the front office and the people at the top, hey, something is majorly wrong. You need to do something fast. And there's part of me that just kind of wants them to keep losing so that the Green Bay front office can start to do something, actually, because Aaron Rodgers is starting to get progressively worse and worse. Yeah. It's not in terms of play either, but in terms of mentality too, because there's a moment where he completely misses a wide open receiver, and he blames that receiver for being wide open. And he was also talking trash about Dobbs too, about not catching that one play that he threw a little low. But it's starting to get bad, and something needs to happen.
Yeah, and this Packers team just seems like they just don't seem like they don't trust one another. And I can tell you what's wrong right now. That defense needs to step up, because, man, Jair Alexander got cooked yesterday, and things need to change.
Yeah, definitely, without question. I turned on the game after doing some stuff, and I just watched Jair get burned by Terry McLaurin, which he's a good receiver in his own right. But when you're one of the top corners in the nation getting burned by a receiver on the Washington Commanders of all teams, it's not a good look. And to your credit, the defense is rough. I mean, they'll start this first half with pretty solid play. I mean, INT returned pick 6, which was amazing. But the second half, you let up how many points, and just, oh man, it's not pretty.
So far to start the season, 0-2 against the NFC East. Still got to play the Cowboys and the Eagles. It's a rough stretch for the Packers, and they're not going to get themselves any help, as Josh Allen and Buffalo are going to be coming off of a bye too. So it's going to be pretty hard, but if they're able to somehow win the game, maybe this is a chance to turn things around. Who knows? Who knows? Let's go to something a little bit more positive, shall we? The Milwaukee Bucks have started off this season 2-0 and have looked very good doing so. Giannis is doing what Giannis does, but Brook Lopez has stepped up and played well to start the season. So, guys, what is your views of the Bucks started this season so far? Because, man, have they looked impressive.
What I'm seeing right now is classic Bucks basketball. It is back. And I saw in the offseason that people were really having concerns about Brook Lopez. They're like, he's kind of slow. He's starting to age a little bit, and they were just worried that he was going to be more of a liability. Yeah, I think he's dashed away those comments within these first 2 games. Obviously, he has been a defensive menace, just having multiple blocks already. He's been shooting the 3-ball well as always. He's got the nickname Splash Mountain for a reason. But I think this Bucks team just looks so good, and you have to realize that they're without Chris Middleton still. They're without their free agent pickup, Joe Ingles. He's still injured, and he probably will be for a little while. But if they're playing like this, while injured, I think that just means a lot. I think that says a lot about the team for when they're fully healthy.
Right, and I think a name, Ashton's point of saying they're winning without Middleton, Ingles, another name, Connaughton, they're winning without. If they're winning without 3 big pieces, 3 players who could be starters, and Grayson Allen is playing very well to his credit too. This has just been a masterclass for the Bucks to start the season. Yeah, it was a close win in Philadelphia, but they won with Drew Holiday shooting very poorly, without Chris Middleton, without all those pieces, won in Philadelphia. That does wonders, and then they just obliterated Houston. So it's been one heck of a start.
Yeah, definitely, without question. Looking at some stats here, obviously Giannis, I mean, he's a beast, averaging 32.5 points. I mean, obviously, through 2 games, it's hard to say, he's the best player in the league, obviously he is. But Brook Lopez averaging 13, which is solid. He's averaging 3.5 blocks a game. Drew Holiday averaging 12.5 points. I mean, Bobby Portis, 12 points averaging. Grayson Allen, 11.5 points. So you're having guys, show up and put points on the board and looking really solid. Obviously, they take on Brooklyn on Wednesday, so a tougher opponent. But, you beat Philadelphia on the road, who's supposed to be one of the best teams in the NBA. Obviously not looking like that right now, but,
Still early.
I mean, yeah. But it's a good look for the Bucks beating a team like that, and kind of sets them up for success in the future.
Yeah, without question. I think this team could go a long way based on we have a small sample size, but what I've seen so far has been pretty impressive. Well, as we inch closer to the end of this episode, we're going to finish off what we normally do with our Rank 'em segment. If you don't remember, Rank 'em is when us three go around and rank the top 3 moments of the weekend. So I'll start, then Ashton and Brody. So I'm going to start off, and my third one is going to be a little different. It's going to be out of left field a bit. I'm going to go with number 3 being the Wisconsin men's hockey team sweeping Minnesota Duluth. Now, Wisconsin men's hockey started off the season 0-4. And they had a few games against Ohio State. They started off the season. They lost that one. They were never really in it. And then in the second game, they were up 3-0 before Ohio State came back and won that one 4-3. And then they played St. Cloud State, which they lost both times. Neither of the games looking good. And then in Minnesota Duluth, number 10 team in the country, they go up there and they won both the games. Goaltender looked amazing in both games. Brock Caulfield played well. Just good wins for Wisconsin. And then for number 2, I'm going to go with just how well the Bucks have started off this season. Now, I know it's a small sample size, 2 games, but still they have looked very good. Offense is good, and they're without Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton, those key pieces. And then number 1, I'm going to go with the MLB playoffs, the Philadelphia Phillies advancing to the World Series, a team that we talked about on the Sports Hub here before, saying that the Brewers had a better chance of going to the playoffs than them. Well, they've gone from the wild card round to the World Series, and they looked really good doing it. And then New York getting swept by Houston. I mean, New York and Aaron Judge had this amazing season, and they just get swept by Houston. So that's going to be my top 3. I'll hand it off to Ashton.
All right. Number 3, I'm going to go Wisconsin beating Purdue. I think that was a really big win, and I think that it was one of the games that we were thinking that if Wisconsin doesn't win, then they're probably not going to make a bowl game. They'll end their 20-year bowl game streak, and things will just be sad. But no, they won, and now they're looking pretty good, and things are looking optimistic, which we haven't been able to say much about them this year. So pretty cool on that. Number 2, I'll take the MLB playoffs. Good for Philadelphia. I'm happy for them, happy for Bryce Harper, and I think good for them making the World Series. But obviously, Astros sweeping the Yankees. I'm smoking that Yankees pack watch right now. But Astros they're just looking like the best. They're looking like the best team, and they're showing that they are the best team. I don't think Philly's going to take a game. I think Astros are going to sweep. And then I think for number 1. Bucks basketball, like we said, it's small sample size, but just with how consistently good the Bucks have been just throughout the years, and with how good they looked without a few key pieces, I just think they have a really solid shot at making the NBA Finals again.
And last but not least,
so my top 3 here. I guess number 3, I'm going to start with kind of one we didn't really talk about. LSU beating Ole Miss, ranked 7. Ole Miss, 45-20 this past weekend, and a credit to LSU. I mean, a lot of people were saying, LSU's kind of washed up now. Brian Kelly's not a great coach, but now, I mean, you look at that. I mean, they outscored them in the second half, 28-0, which is a pretty solid for beating a number 7th ranked team in the nation. So credit to LSU and all the guys down there playing pretty well. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Yankees getting swept by the Astros. It's such a good feeling. As Ashton said, smoking that Yankee pack, it makes me happy because, a lot of people have things to say about the Yankees. I mean, we all probably do. But considering they're going into the playoffs, a lot of hope for them. A lot of people saying, oh, they're going to win the World Series. Yeah, well, it's not looking good when you get swept.
Didn't work out for you.
Yeah, what happened there, guys? But, you know, good on the Astros for beating them. Obviously, we have stuff to say about the Astros, but good on them for beating the Yankees. And number one, I'm going to go with the whole city of Philadelphia besides the 76ers. You know, the Phillies, you know, made the World Series after almost not making the playoffs. The Philadelphia Eagles are looking really, really good in the NFL right now. And the Philadelphia Flyers, 4-2 right now. And a lot of people say, oh, the Flyers are, you know, they'll fall apart somewhere. Obviously, it's early in the season, so we can't say that. But, you know, the whole city besides the 76ers right now, they're all, I mean, I'm surprised the city isn't torn down yet.
Yeah, surprised it's not on fire yet.
Yeah, wait a few months and it might be that. But credit to the city of Philadelphia. I'm sure they're all in a good mood that their sports teams are playing pretty well right now. So good on you, Philadelphia.
Just don't watch the 76ers.
It's early in the season, you know, things can change. Well, that is going to do it for another episode of the Sports Hub. Once again, if you enjoyed what you saw today, why not check out the other content we have here at SPTV? Once again, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.